Well, my interest in photography started when I was 12 years old. I borrowed my dad's camera. I went to the backyard and took pictures of chickens. That was it. That was the start. The first rule was chickens. And then it piqued my curiosity, so I became the unofficial family photographer during vacations and the usual things. What really got me more serious into photography was when we started moving around Southeast Asia, because my father is in the hotel business. So we'd move every 2 years, every 2 years, we'd move to a new city. You know, we started doing that when I was about 12, 13, just a couple of years after I started taking pictures. For me, it became a tool to start exploring the city, because you lose your friends, you lose your home, so you have to reinvent it. And the camera was a perfect excuse to wander around the streets of Singapore, the streets of KL or Bangkok, and take pictures and get to know the city in that way. And that's something that I think holds true for me when I travel with my camera. It's a great excuse to stick your nose where you usually wouldn't. You turn one more corner, you go down one more street, you climb one more hill to see what's there. And it makes travel more interesting for me. I started assisting when I was about 16 during summer months in Singapore for Luca, who's an interiors and lifestyle photographer. And when I turned 18, I was at the end of high school. I actually got two acceptance letters. One was from flight school, because I wanted to be a pilot, and the other one was from the Brooks Institute in Santa Barbara, which is a photography college. And I don't know why I chose the photography college. So after 3 years in Santa Barbara, I moved back to Kuala Lumpur and started shooting. I was the second photographer in a commercial studio. We did everything from food, advertising, hotels, fashion. It was a good learning experience. And from there, I moved to Spain, and that's where I really started sort of getting serious with the photography. I started out really doing a lot of photojournalism. I worked for a wire agency out of Spain, covering news, presidential elections, football games, the usual sort of pack photography. It wasn't quite fulfilling for me. I found the traditional system of being a wire or news photographer not really about photography and more about just getting a picture so you can fill a page. Because of that, I stumbled into anthropology. So I went back to college, did a second degree in anthropology, which I found was just like the camera, a different way of looking at life. I mean, as an anthropologist, you approach things differently. And I liked the way that enriched my photography. And from there, after I graduated from the second degree, I moved to Barcelona, and that's when I took up the photography again and started shooting a lot of travel, a lot of high-end interiors, commercial work, and really developed my photography business there for 10 years. In 2009, my wife and I and my two kids decided to move back to the Philippines. We wanted to give our kids that experience of the Filipino upbringing. There's nothing like it anywhere in the world, I have to say. I mean, that everybody knows everybody, your cousins and your uncles and your third cousins. It's a great sensation of family, for good and bad, that we wanted to give our kids. So that's why I'm here. I moved back 3 years ago. I continue to shoot internationally. But it's not so much if you work abroad or not work abroad. I think if you do good work, you do good work, no matter where you are. You just need to be given the opportunity to do so. I think it's irrelevant when you start. I mean, a lot of the great photographers didn't start when they were young. It's something they picked up later. I think it has more to do with the passion for the medium. I won't call it an art because that's debatable. It's a medium. It has to do with your passion, and I think you see a lot of who the photographer is in the picture. What their life's been like, what their taste is like, what their interests are. I think it's a matter of translating those things, what interests you, what you like, into images, and being given the chance to do that. Because usually as a commercial photographer, you're not always have the chance to do that. I think you see it a lot in people's personal work, because there's no client, you can do what you want. I think it's a drive. My personal philosophy on that, and I was just talking about this earlier, is that for me, my best picture is the next one. You know, my most interesting trip is the next one. And I think it's that drive to keep on creating and keep on learning, to make different images and new images, is what eventually leads to what you call eye or a style of the photographer. It's ongoing. It's ever evolving. I look at my pictures from last year and, well, I don't like some of them, you know, and I took those pictures. You have to keep on evolving, keep on evolving. I don't know how to do anything else. I am a photographer. That's it. I was a Starbucks barista for a couple of years in college. I also worked in a data collection center in England, so maybe their version of a call center when I was in college. That's it. I've been a photographer as far as I know. I've never done the 9 to 5. I'd like to. I think it would be. I always threaten when you have your bad days as a photographer and nothing's working, and I always threaten that I am going to become a certified public accountant. That's my dream. Work 9 to 5, but you know, I don't know how to do that. So, you know, you might not believe me, but it's one of the best places in the world to shoot. You travel around, and the more places you go, you realize that not everybody likes to be photographed. You mean you walk the streets of Europe, where street photography was born, and more often than not, you'll get people say, "Hey, please don't take my picture." You know, you go. It's a little bit more jaded. Here in the Philippines, you put a camera to your face, and before you know it, you're having beers with this guy, and you've met his girlfriend, and people are genuinely open and friendly in the Philippines, and that I'm saying that out of experience. It's a great place to photograph, and I think the Philippines, on a personal level, it's an exciting time to be in the Philippines. Things are changing. I mean, we can't forget our history of the past 50 years, you know, and it's been ups and downs and crisis and no crisis and coup d'etat and all this stuff, which is why I think there was an exodus of the young and the bright people, you know, everybody who could got out. And me, you know, I guess my family, when I was a child, was part of that exodus of people. You know, this wasn't a place you wanted to live in. But we came back with my 2 kids for a Christmas, the typical balikbayan thing to do in 2008. And you could feel something was changing. You know, be it activists on social media, pollution was better, traffic was better. You could see that the economy was moving. You know, things seem to be moving generally in a very positive way. And you see now, Asia's the place to be. Europe is about to sink into the Atlantic. The U.S. is, and Asia's just booming. And as a photographer, you can feel a creative vibe here. People are doing interesting things. I'm not saying that everybody's making a lot of money, but there are all these small, little, interesting projects you hear about and you see. And I want to be part of that.